Good evening. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had a blissful holiday over the Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year break there. I know my son certainly did. So, welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being with me this evening. And we're going to continue our study of Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 5. I believe I left off at verse 10, so I'll start with verse 10 just to kind of refresh our our minds from the last discussion that we had. So this is a chapter entitled Karma Yoga, which gives us a lot of insight to action and the difference between yoga and renunciation and yoga and action. So let us begin. I'll do the Sanskrit to give us the mood, the sense of the actual conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And I'll begin as follows. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padma patram ivam bhasha. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. If you remember way back in the first chapter, which is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Arjuna's lamentation or despair was actually the catalyst for his yogic path. Arjuna, after viewing the army before him, which was comprised of relatives, teachers, friends, became very morose at the thought that he had to kill them. So he waxed very compassionate at that particular point in time. And one of the reasons he gave Krishna as to why he did not want to fight, even though he was your ultimate warrior who never lost a battle and was one of the preeminent archers of the entire world at that particular time. But one of the reasons he gave Krishna that he would not fight, there were like 4 or 5 different reasons. And one of the reasons is it's sinful. I'm going to be killing my relatives. I'm going to be killing my friends. I'm going to be killing my teachers. This is against our culture. So I'm not going to do that. So what does Krishna say here? This is actually a great response to Arjuna at that particular point in time. Krishna says, one who performs his duty, his dharma. So for us, dharma is a whole other conversation that we had, which was the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. We had a whole conversation about dharma. But basically, it means one's duty in life. And if you want to understand what that duty is, you have to understand your nature. And you have to understand what you like to happen to you and what you don't like. If you don't like person lying to you, if you don't like a person cheating you, if you don't like a person, being nasty to you, etc., you can understand that part of your dharma is truth, not to lie. Your dharma is to be honest, not to steal, not to cheat. That's part of your dharma. Another part of your dharma is if you're married, you have responsibility to wife or husband and children and the extended family and the extended family beyond that, which is society. So all of these things are your dharma. It was more specific, of course, during Arjuna's time, in that there were four categories that you could be in, according to your, Krishna says, chatur varnam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagasa. So chatur varnam means there's four basic intrinsic material natures that we have. Some people are intellectual by nature. They really, really like to study. They derive great pleasure in studying and teaching. I can say my wife is one of those people. She really, really relishes studying. Uh, she'll sit for hours and read and meditate on that and discuss, etc. So, it's a nature. It's someone's nature to be studious. And also part of that studious nature is to teach. The second category, that would be called in Sanskrit, and according to Bhagavad Gita, that would be called Brahman. The second category would be Kshatriya, Kshatrayate. Chat means harm, Kshatriya, to protect from harm. And Arjuna that was his nature. He was a Kshatriya, therefore he was a warrior. Therefore his responsibility, his dharma, was to protect society. He was a nobleman, he was a leader of society, and part of his duty was to protect society. So that was his dharma. And he was saying in the first chapter that I would be sinful if I killed my family members, my friends, my teachers, etc. Here, Krishna says, one must perform his dharma, his duty, but not just to perform it, but to be not attached, without attachment. We'll discuss that a little bit later. Surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, and I've discussed this many times, particularly in the third chapter, we had conversations about sacrifice. Sanskrit word is yajna, sacrifice, what it means to perform sacrifice. So surrendering the results of your actions, the results of what you do according to your nature, your dharma, is how one becomes free from attachment to the results. If I'm doing it for myself, then their attachment develops. Mamatva in Sanskrit. It means that I develop attachments. From my attachments comes suffering. Because of my attachments, I am actually suffering as a result. So Krishna gives the hint herein that you can do your duty, you can become aloof, not disenfranchised or estranged from your duty, but you can see the way Krishna advises us to become free from attachments when we perform our duty is the next phrase: surrendering, developing, cultivating a mindset by which we surrender the results of our actions to the Supreme. It's an offering. We see everything that we do as an offering. That means that there has to be some recognition that there is a Supreme, and to some degree you have to accept that there is a God, a Supreme, an ultimate divinity, an ultimate reality, an absolute truth, etc. You have to at least accept that principle, if not live by it. But Krishna says very clearly here, if you do your duty by surrendering the results of your duty as an offering to the Supreme. And that's exactly how Krishna countered Arjuna's declaration that I'm not fighting because this is sinful if I fight. And Krishna said, no, if you do your duty, that's not sinful. You not doing your duty is actually where sin comes in, because it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to yourself, your immediate family, your extended family, as far as society, to the world, to the universe. Actually, we have both immediate and universal responsibilities. And if we don't live according to those responsibilities, that's where we're errant. I think I mentioned this before. The Latin definition of sin, it's not sin is being, going against God's will, God's law, etc. That's one definition. But another definition, one of the original definitions of the Latin word for sin, was to make an erroneous choice, to error in your choice on how you act. So what Krishna is saying here is that you're making a choice, Arjuna. You have a choice to fulfill your obligation to yourself, your family, and the extended family, society, or not. So it's when you fulfill your obligation. It's just like if you're a father, your obligation is to help your children, help them in terms of their growth and development. And the refusal to do that is refusal to take up your responsibility. And that, according to Krishna, is an erroneous choice. Because if you were involved in bringing that living entity into this world, then it is your choice. It is your responsibility to take care of that child and help that child understand its dharma, its nature. So Krishna is very specific here. He says, do your duty without attachment, surrendering the results in the Supreme Lord, and you'll be unaffected by sinful action. So it's a very significant verse to meditate upon, especially if you put it in relationship to your own life. What is my dharma? What is my duty in life? And, do I want to make right choices in life? Do I want to have purpose in life, etc.? So Krishna is giving that. And then he uses, as he does quite often, and it's quite natural within the context of the Vedas for either the Supreme Bhagavan to use a metaphor to make an abstract clear, or the sadhus of the Vedic times to use a metaphor to make an abstract concept, philosophical concept clear. So here Krishna makes all those statements as he says, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So you do your duty, you perform your action, and the result of doing your duty, acting in conjunction with the prescribed laws of the Supreme, then you are not touched by sin. You are not touched because you are making, according to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, you're making the correct choice. And Krishna goes through great pains to tell Arjuna, your choice in order to be free from sin, free from erroneous choice, is to act according to your dharma and protect these citizens from those who would try to exploit and corrupt society. And that's what Krishna was telling Arjuna. So you go by my instruction, not blindly. That's why Krishna goes through great pains, a great extent in delivering the Bhagavad Gita, because he does not want us to do things blindly. In fact, in fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 34th verse, where Krishna is telling Arjuna, you need a teacher. to guide you on your path of spirituality. In the commentary of that particular verse, Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary, makes it very clear. He says, it is very clearly explained here that blind faith is not accepted. Krishna does not want blind faith. What we want is educated faith, realized faith. Why I am doing this? What is the purpose behind this? And that's why one of the principles of bhakti and one of the principles of Kriya Yoga in the Yoga Sutras is swadhyaya. In bhakti, there's 5 powerful limbs of bhakti. Chanting, both meditational chanting in japa, kirtan, that's chanting. Sadhu sangha, that's seeking out and keeping the association of realized souls, self-realized souls. The third principle is swadhyaya, and swadhyaya means the study of sacred texts. This is a key component of bhakti and one of the 5 most powerful limbs or aspects of bhakti. And the last 2 are holy place, traveling to a holy place, because the real goal of traveling to the holy place is there you meet the sadhus in holy places. And there you purify the heart. And by that such purification, the heart becomes a holy place. So it's not that we just go to a holy place. Our heart has to become a holy place. So in bhakti, in the tradition of bhakti yoga, the principles that we're following, the 5 principles, the angas or the limbs of bhakti, help to make the heart a pure place. And the heart itself becomes a place that is welcoming the Supreme. They often say cleanliness is next to godliness, right? That's a common English saying. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So by purifying the heart, we are cleaning the heart. And that cleanliness of heart, that purity of heart, makes a suitable place for the Supreme to sit and to guide us. So these are the 5, and in the Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali talks about Kriya Yoga, he also mentions in Kriya Yoga that Swadhyaya, Ishwari Pranidhan, and Tapasya, those 3 things we have to perform. So what Swadhyaya, again, it's according to Patanjali, it's self-study and study of sacred text. Ishwara Pranidhan is understanding that there is a Supreme and meditating on that Supreme, developing a dialogue with that Supreme, and worshiping that Supreme. Ishwara means the Supreme Controller, literally translated. And the third thing is tapasya. And tapasya pretty much is the same thing Krishna's talking about in the 3rd chapter of Gita, sacrifice, living a life of sacrifice. And not a life of artificial sacrifice. Krishna doesn't want to see, just sacrifice for recognition. It's the type of sacrifice which is from the heart, not from the ego. It's from the heart where it's an offering. I will withstand certain discomforts, because it is an offer. It is part of my offering to the Supreme. So that's an important principle for us to understand. So if we do, as Krishna recommends in this verse, we remain as a lotus flower, which is not touched by the water it sits in. If you've ever seen a lotus flower grow, it actually from a lake or a pond or a river that has pure water, it will grow from the bottom of that body of water. The stem will go through, and the flower will come up out of the water, and then it will open with the rising and setting of the sun. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the Krishna book, it talks about a lotus flower that actually blossoms at night. So it's a very, very beautiful, fragrant flower. But besides that, besides its beauty and its fragrance, it has a protective coating on it, and so it does not get waterlogged. So Krishna was saying here, you will not be affected in any way, shape, or form by your actions. In fact, your actions, karma, the literal translation of karma means action that has reaction. But the other division of karma is called akarma. And akarma means you still acting, but there's no reactions to those actions because all of those actions are done as an offering. So Krishna makes that reference here. As the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So we are not contaminated or corrupted when we are performing action. There are types of yoga that profess that. Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, the yogas of renunciation. One of the things that they say is if you act in this material world, you're invariably going to get affected by that. Therefore, that's why they renounce all kinds of action. But Krishna says there's that yoga of renunciation and there's yoga of action, two basic categories. And what Krishna says in the fourth chapter, beginning of the fourth chapter, the yoga of action, the understanding of the yoga of action has been lost. The yoga of renunciation, that is understood, for millennia. There have been the very, very few who renounce action, renounce family, renounce involvement with society, renounce all kinds of actions, and they go to the Himalayas and meditate. Now, usually, and in the course of the history of renunciative yoga, there have been many charlatans. So renunciation is not easy. So those two basic categories, the yoga of renunciation, yoga of action. So Krishna is not professing, and Krishna actually is answering Arjuna's question. The yoga of action is better because it's more natural. 98% of society will want to be active. So those rare, rare souls who can function honestly in a renunciative state, then that's for them. But in general, for the majority of society, they are influenced in such a way as they want to be active. And that is why we have, out of the three basic categories of yoga that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yoga is the yoga of renunciation. And a subset of Jnana Yoga is in the sixth chapter. That's the yoga of Dhyana Yoga, yoga of meditation. So, and then a subset of Jnana again is Sankhya, and Sankhya is seeing things in an analytical way. Those three, which are under the umbrella of Jnana Yoga, or the yoga of contemplation, the yoga of study, the yoga of renunciation, those three are very difficult to perform. As I said, because we have an active nature. Krishna says, even I am active. So we have an active nature. So that's why Krishna talks about karma yoga, as he's discussing here, and what karma yoga eventually evolves into is bhakti yoga. And bhakti yoga is action, but it is action which is linked to the Supreme. All action and all motivation for action is linked to the Supreme. In karma yoga, not on that level yet. So therefore, there's charity that's performed, sacrifices that are performed, different things that are performed in the course of executing karma yoga. Krishna says here, duty is you perform your duty, but you cultivate the mindset of detachment. And then part of the cultivation and the mindset of detachment is making all of your actions as an offering. So that's pretty much what 10 is about. And it kind of prefaces the next set of verses that we're going to study, 11 through 20. Hopefully we can get through it. So the overarching theme of text 11 through 20 is true renunciation is internal detachment. Internal detachment. So it means, what do we mean by internal detachment? It doesn't necessarily have to be shown. You don't necessarily have to show that you're a sannyasi, a swami, but you can have that mindset where you are cultivating freedom from possessiveness. So the overall arching theme of these next 9, 10 verses is true renunciation is internal detachment combined with devotion. And this is the principle that Krishna is going to be speaking about. You can be detached, you can be renounced, but you can be within the world. Just like the lotus is within water, it doesn't become wet. You can be within the world, but internally, you have this link, this strong connection with God. You go outside, you see the beauty. It sparks an understanding that where does this mastery of art come from? The trees, the flowers, the water, the sky. I mean, every morning my wife goes to the beach and she takes pictures and videos, considering it part of her meditation. And every day there's a beautiful seascape, not exactly the same. The strokes in the sky, the positioning of the sun, the beach, sometimes the beach is not tread upon, sometimes it's very tread upon. The ocean sometimes is rough, so you'll get a lot of breaking waves, and sometimes it's placid. Every day we get a beautiful seascape. Where does that come? The meditation immediately goes, the master artist has produced another masterpiece. In the history of art, when you study Picasso and Rembrandt and all the masters, you'll see within the course of their work, not every single piece that they have produced is a masterpiece. In fact, quite often, out of all the work, especially if they're a prolific artist, out of all the work that they produce, they have a few that has that recognition as being a masterpiece. So when we look at the beauty, the changing landscape, the way the light hits the trees, the way the light reflects upon the ground, we just see an ever-changing landscape, seascape, skyscape of beauty. And to connect that to the master artist is part of the development in the consciousness of a practicing bhakti yogi. When we see a flower, there's two things. You can pick that flower and smell the flower. Oh, what a beautiful rose that is. How fragrant that rose. Or the other thing is you pick that flower and you run inside to your meditational altar and you place it on the altar as an offering. This is the kind of mindset that one is cultivating when we're performing action and detaching ourselves from enjoying the fruits of the action, because we're the fruits of our action as a bhakti yogi is the fruits are being offered to the Supreme. So it's a very significant type of meditation and cultivation and evolution that one has when they practice bhakti yoga. So we'll read uh, text 11. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalayar indriyar api yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shudaye. So it reads, the yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So two things to consider in this verse. You see the use of the word Atma. Atma, Sanskrit, is a very contextual language. So the word Atma can have different meanings according to how it is used. Atma can mean the body, Atma can mean the mind, Atma can mean the intelligence, Atma can mean the soul. Atma can have different connotations according to the context in which it's used. So Krishna is using the word Atma here. He's saying of the self. So what does that mean? Because he's saying only for the purpose of purification. Yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So if Atma meant soul, the understanding of soul is the soul can never be corrupted. The soul is pure. The soul may be in this world, but it's not of this world. So that way we can understand what Krishna is saying here is the soul is being used, purifying the self, sometimes self-realization. What does that mean? Purification of the self means basically the mind. Krishna is using the Atma in relationship to the mind or the Chitta. Chitta is comprised of mind, intelligence, and ego. So for the purification, Krishna is saying, for the purpose of purification, yogis abandon attachment, understanding that if I abandon attachment, number one, by abandoning attachment, I don't suffer anymore. I take things as they are. There's a great Babylonian statement that we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are. So if we see things as we are, and we're looking through the eyes of the ego, the false ego, then we're projecting outwards our misidentification, because ahankar or ego means that we're not seeing clearly who we are. So if we're not seeing clearly who we are and we're projecting that outwards, so that means our vision is based on who we are, what our set of conditionings is. I mean, this can be seen clearly in when there's mental illness. You know, if a person is diagnosed with schizophrenia or OCD, etc., there's great studies on how they'll see the world. Paranoia, for instance. If a person has the mindset of paranoia, then there's plenty of fear. And OCD, compulsive behavior. And you can see they're seeing the world as they are projecting onto the world. So that is what we are trying to purify. We're trying to see as it is, as the world is, by acts of purification within the yoga system. So Krishna is saying here, abandon the yogis, if you're practicing yoga and cultivating the mindset of abandoning attachment, you will learn to act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So we're trying to cleanse the mind. We're trying to disassociate, or rather detach the mind from the concept that I am the enjoyer. That we only have false ego, ahankara, when we're misidentifying who we really are. According to Bhagavad Gita, we are the soul, not the mind, not the intelligence, not the ego. What we are, that which is aware, that which is in full consciousness, and that which is conscious of our individual consciousness, that is the soul. And the idea of purification of the chitta, or the mind, intelligence, and ego, is to put it straight, to align it with its real position, with its real purpose. The mind, the intelligence, the ego, all of these things are not to reinforce the notion that we are the body and everything is meant for our enjoyment, that we are the center of the universe and everything within the universe is for our enjoyment. The purpose of purification and the results of purification of the yoga through the yoga system is we begin to understand that we are not the body. That's one of the preliminary realizations that the yogi has in performance of yoga. One of the preliminary realizations is I am Sat, Sat Chit Ananda. Eternity, that's my nature. Chit, knowledge, and bliss. These are what I am, who I am. I'm comprised of those three things: eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And oh my God, what a relief that is. You know, I mean, if we're thinking that we're temporary, we've got a lifespan of 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, etc., then one of the biggest fears that kind of consumes us is fear of death. So when we understand our deathless nature, when we understand what Krishna says in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that the soul at the time of death sheds the body just as one takes off one's garments at the end of the night. I'm wearing a white shirt tonight. At the end of the night, I'll take this white shirt off and I'll put on my blue pajamas. So I'm changing my garments. I wake up in the morning, I take off my blue pajamas, and I put on my red shirt. If it's Tuesday, I put on my red shirt. If it's Wednesday, I put on my green shirt, because Tuesday is Mars and Wednesday is Mercury and Thursday is yellow, Jupiter. Friday is Venus, light blue or a light color. Saturday is Shani, and dark color, black, dark color. Sunday is the sun, Surya day. So I'm changing my garments. And that's what Krishna says. Krishna says, you don't die. When he uses one Sanskrit verse from the Upanishads, he says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam Eko Bahoda Yovidate Kaman. So Nityo means there's one supreme eternal God. Nityanam is the plural. And then there's many, many living entities. And that's us, the part. Just like in the second chapter, Krishna says, never when was there a time when I did not exist. Krishna did not exist, nor you, Arjuna, nor everyone on this battlefield. We're all eternal, individual. That's the definition that Krishna is giving to the true nature of the self. Once we realize that, once we're situated in that, Patanjali says, Yogas Chitta Britti Nirodha, that what is yoga? Yoga is to be situated in a peaceful, a calm, a controlled, a disciplined state of mind, placid. And when one is in that state of mind, one can realize the true nature of the self. And what's the true nature of the self? Happiness. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Eternity, knowledge, and bliss. That's our nature. That's our legacy. And if we go on using our life thinking that we're the body-mind complex, we're shortchanging ourselves. And we're causing ourselves unnecessary suffering. Pain will be there because that's part of the machinery that we're in. Pain has a function, but suffering is optional. Suffering is if we identify. Once we are identifying with that as the body, Krishna says the machine made of material energy, if we're identifying with that, then we suffer due to that identification. Just like if you have a car, brand new car, right? You go, you don't make the mistake of going to a new car dealership, especially if you're, you're inclined, because as soon as you go, you see that new car, right? And the salesman knows this. The salesman knows if you're there, and you're looking seriously at this model, he knows you want that car. And what does he do? He gets you to sit in that car. He gets you, he points out the shine of the exterior, right? Look at how shiny the exterior is. He sits you in that nice, comfortable driver's seat. Grab a hold of the steering wheel. Feel this baby. Let's take it for a ride. And you get in there and you push that button and you take that car for a ride. And you're just thinking about your old junker and what what it's like to drive that. You got play in your steering wheel. You hit the brakes and it goes down to the floor before it even begins to stop. And that salesman, he's got you in the seat and he's got you because now you're driving and you touch those brakes. You have that steering wheel and it responds to everything. The suspension is working perfectly, right? He's got you. So that means the more we're in association with that machine made of material energy, the car, the more we become attached to it. Same thing. The soul. When the soul is injected into the womb, into the ovum, and the soul, through that combination of semen and ovum, the soul generates life energy, which causes the whole process of growth and development. Right from the beginning, there's some attachment. And then when we take birth, and everybody says, oh, look at that baby, how cute that baby. And then you think, this is great. And then you grow a little older. Oh, my little darling toddler. Oh, now he's walking. Now he's talking. Now he's charming me. And the more that goes on, the more we're sitting in that nice new car, the more attached we're becoming to it. And then according to the Vedas, logic will say as we get older, we begin to realize it's a junker. My brakes are squeaking. My suspension is not steady anymore. But the nature of attachment is so strong that it won't, logic will not prevail. Attachment prevails. So this is why Krishna is telling us to cultivate the mindset of detachment. Do everything that you have to do. Live life. Experience life. Krishna's not telling us that. He's not promoting renunciative yoga. He's promoting, yes, you act. Yes, you be dutiful. You be responsible. All you have to do, the only change is that you see everything in relationship to the source, the Supreme Lord. And when that's there, detachment develops naturally. In bhakti, the beauty of bhakti is we don't cultivate detachment independently. We cultivate attachment. And the end result of the attachment that we cultivate for the Supreme, the end result of that is we get a higher taste. Give me a higher taste. That's Stevie Winwood, Higher Love. We get a higher taste. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, param drishtva navartate. You're cultivating a higher taste. You give up the lower taste by cultivating a higher taste. So when we perform action and we begin to experience the santosh, the contentment that we're experiencing, even with the simplest of actions, when we begin to experience that, then we see the logic of the practice of the principles of yoga and the development of a cultivation of a mindset which sees everything in relationship to the Supreme. Begin to understand that logic. Text 12 reads, continuing on with this principle, the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. There's an analogy that's used, and that is one of a spider, the spider web, and the fly. The spider can make a beautiful spider web. Somewhere I have some pictures, some really wonderful pictures that I took in India of this massive spider web and the design of it, the sun coming through it and everything like that. So you have the spider. The spider creates the spider web, right? Comes out of some part of its body. I think the rear of its body. He does his design. The spider walks on the spider web. Created it, can maneuver in it, and then the fly comes. Fly touches that spider web, what happens? Sticky substance. It's designed to entangle the fly. And it's designed, so cleverly designed, not only does it stick to the fly, but the more the fly acts or moves, the more entangled it becomes. And then spider comes dancing over, look at me, and kills the fly, sucks its insides out. This material world is comprised of the external energy of the Supreme, Krishna says in the 7th chapter: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. These 8 comprise my separated material energy. So the world around us and around us, our microcosmic world and the macrocosmic world, is made of these elements. And the more we're in it and think we're of it, and the more we act in it, the more entangled we become. And then we become so entangled, we can't get out of it. We can't break the shackles of entanglement that are there. And then ultimately death comes. Cruel death comes and puts an end to us. But we're entangled. We get entangled by this. So that's why Krishna is he's giving us the secret again and again. Friends, you can act. All you have to do is connect. That's what yoga means. To link, to connect, union. All we have to do is that. Our sadhana, we're performing our sadhana, our chanting or our swadhyaya, our study, our classes, our association with each other. We're performing our sadhana to cultivate a mindset that is connected. When we go into kirtan, what happens? Everyone's chanting, right? Everyone simultaneously is chanting these sacred mantras, which has the purifying effect on the heart. And the result of the purifying effect is to see the link, is to begin to connect the dots. That's the result of purification. We begin to cultivate a mindset that helps us to understand everything is not meant for our enjoyment, but is meant as an offering. That is the result of purification by the performance of yoga. And Krishna is saying there. So if we want to become free from entanglement, we can't absorb ourselves in material actions for our own pleasure, selfish pleasure. And you know what the beauty is? That the verse which says Drishtva, Param Drishtva Nivartate, it's not that you're giving up pleasure, because quite often I've given lectures on the street, I've spoken in classrooms. I had the good fortune of speaking to a group of bhakti practitioners in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, wonderful, wonderful devotees. Everywhere I go and I make this point, people will respond, well, how do we get in? If we're not to enjoy, not to experience gratification of the senses, then that seems like a very severe life. But Krishna says, no, no, there is bliss. For instance, you can go to a nightclub and hear dance music and dance, or you can go to a kirtan. And if you go to a good kirtan where the kirtan singer is absorbed in the mantra and projecting the purity of the heart through that sound vibration, you can't say you're not experiencing joy from that. Or if you get up and you dance, you're experiencing joy from that. So Krishna is not saying detach yourself from the fruits of your action so that you become severe and you don't enjoy. He's not saying that. He's saying, hey, you deserve better. You deserve a deeper, more profound experience of enjoyment that's not dependent so much on the externals. It's experiential, experiential within the heart. You don't give up emotions, but you truly experience emotions. You don't give up gratification of the senses. But when you use the senses in relationship to the Supreme, you experience that gratification which comes from the interaction of your senses with the sense objects that's been connected with consciousness, pure consciousness to the Supreme. What you experience is higher. It's deeper. It's longer lasting. That's the result of that kind of gratification. 13, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates. Here we have another metaphor, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. City of nine gates, it's used again and again. Navadvare. Nine gates means nostrils, two, eyes, that's 2 plus 2, 4, mouth, 5, 2 ears, 7, anus, 8, and genitals, 9. The city of nine gates. We reside in that city of nine gates, and thus we purify them by our performance of bhakti. So when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates, neither working nor causing work to be done. That means we recognize that the real action of the soul is connection with the Supreme. And then how is this body functioning? It's functioning through the influence of the modes of material nature. In Sanskrit, it's called gunas. The gunas are causing Rajagun, or the mode of passion, is causing you to act. Tamagun, Tamagun is causing you to sleep. Sattvagun, Sattvagun is giving you happiness, knowledge, philosophical inclination. The gunas are causing the city of nine gates to act, while we are the observer or the witness within the city of nine gates. And that's how there's the cultivation of detachment. Text 14 reads, the embodied spirit, the soul, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature, the gunas. 15, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. That's our responsibility. You can't blame it on the Supreme. It's our responsibility. Our wrong choices or pious activities, that's our responsibility. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers the real knowledge. So the Sanskrit word is avidya. What is vidya? Vidya means knowledge. Thus we have Vedas. Vedas means the books of knowledge. Avidya means ignorance, not knowledge. It doesn't mean that we don't know anything. It just means one of the biggest components of avidya is not knowing the purpose of life. Misuse and misidentification are the two things which are symptomatic of avidya or ignorance. Misuse, misidentification. We're misidentifying the self as the body and the mind, when the self is actually the spirit soul. And we're misusing, as a result of that misidentification, thinking that we're the body and the mind, and trying to gratify it and satisfy it through all the external outreaches that we do between senses and objects of the senses. Then what happens is we don't we don't understand that that's not the purpose of life. So we misuse this machine made of material energy. We use it to try to please that which cannot ultimately be pleased or satisfied. Whereas the soul can ultimately reach a state of santosh or contentment and true happiness or ananda, bliss, by proper use and proper identification. And then the veil of avidya, the veil of ignorance, is just like again, another metaphor. The fog develops in the course of the changing climactic, the heat and the cold, and the fog develops, right? At the rising of the sun, the fog begins to dissipate. So where there is knowledge, like Bhagavad Gita, where there is the cultivation of knowledge, there's dissipation of ignorance. And we can actually not see things as we are, but see things as they truly are. Purifies. Text 15, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. We'll stop here, and I'll pick up on our next class. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So, let me mark this so we can continue. Chapter 5, text 16, next week. And I will humbly invite you, if you have any questions or comments or observations or disagreements, please feel free to speak up and let me know what you got on your mind. Who can tell me one takeaway point from what was spoken in this chapter, what Krishna was trying to convey to us? One takeaway point. Shihari, I saw you taking notes there. Can you share with us a takeaway point that you have from this class? Thank you. You're not on. We can't hear you.
Detachment is eternal.
Detachment is eternal. Okay. Can you explain what Krishna is talking about when he says detachment? Does he want us to walk away from everything?
It's like neutrality, to be neutral instead of getting caught up in the in Maya.
Okay.
That's how
Very good. Yeah, neutrality. That's I think somewhere that word is actually used, a kind of neutral state, where the definition, the first definition that Krishna gives of yoga in the second chapter is samatvam. And samatvam is translated into English as being equipoised. So neutral, not getting depressed, not getting overly elated, but being able to stay in this world in a neutral state.
Another way of saying that is that Krishna conscious person is free from the outer and inner activities of the material body.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way of
Yes.
saying that.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? Anyone have a question? Jai Mal
Hare
Telsi,
Krishna.
so nice to see you.
Haribol Prabhu. Thank you. I wanna
You,
just can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you fine. Who's speaking?
Yeah.
I don't see
Nitai
you.
Gaur. Nitai Gaur.
Nitai Gaura Pramanandi Haribo. Okay, Nitai Gaur.
Yeah, I just first of all I wanna thank you. It's a great to be part of these classes. Weekly it's a good midweek reset for
Okay,
spiritual knowledge. So it's great. Um I wanna
thank you.
uh, I what I took is that instead of try to suppress our material needs, we need to use connection with Krishna and actually amplify instead of giving up. So we're not giving up on fun. We are not giving up on positive emotions. We are not missing on life by taking on Krishna consciousness, but we are actually able to experience deeper emotions and deeper joy by experiencing that through service to Krishna and yeah, that was
That's
it.
that's a very good point. We're not suppressing. We're just using it properly. The whole attitude, the whole desire. Like, do we like to eat nice foods? Who doesn't? Today, my wife made this absolutely amazing uh, version of a Central Asian dish, which is called hanam. And hard to describe, but it's kind of like a wrap. Um, the outer part of it is she makes like a dough and wraps a nice mixture. She made two types of hanam, potato and nice spicing, and then wrapped it, boils or steams it, and then she made a nice sauce to go with it. So no one at the table was going, "Oh, how austere, how cruel you are, Gokula Priya." Everyone, my son, who was a little bit of a picky eater, he was like, "Hum, dipping the hanam into the sour cream and into the tomato sauce and enjoying it." And what was he enjoying? He was enjoying the offering to Krishna. So it's not like we suppress. That is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means you don't enjoy in that way. You give up and you become very severe and austere. Our austerity is being in the world and cultivating the mindset of connection to the Supreme. That's the austerity of bhakti. To be of the world, to be with your family, to be with your friends, to enjoy music. But that music is kirtan. To enjoy a nice meal together with your friends and your family. But that's prasadam. Prasadam purifies the heart. Kirtan purifies the heart. This kind of friendship purifies the heart. Hearing of Bhagavad Gita purifies the heart. All of these, and they're enjoyable. I come from an Italian background, and there's no way I could have given up enjoyment because the Italians are very, very lively. And you go to Italy, one of the things when you first go to Italy, you realize how these people enjoy even the simplest things of life. You watch them eat a piece of cheese and a piece of bread with some olives, and they're like, "Oh, mamma mia, Madonna mia," and they're just like, and you're like, "Yeah, I want to do that too." So I would have never become a yogi or involved in yoga if it meant, but what it meant to me, Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada taught, because Prabhupada loved good, nicely prepared prasadam. He loved samosa and kachori and halava and sweet rice and all these like absolutely amazing, amazingly delicious things. But it's an offering. And that's what I'm saying. That's the flick of the switch in consciousness. And I've been in kirtans. I just came from Puerto Rico with Jaima Tulsi, who was organizing the stage performance of our kirtans there. She has a farm, a nice farm there, Finca Pajuil, where she grows herbs and by the way, Jaima Tulsi, thank you for that Balaram tincture. I love it. And in fact, I want to get more from you. But you know, we were there and Puerto Rican culture is a very festive culture. So that's all we were doing. And we were chanting and we were dancing and we were having wonderful prasadam and we were dancing in the parade and playing the instruments and so many were dancing with us. And this past weekend, I was in Miami at the King Mango Strut Parade, which is a very fun parade also. It wasn't exclusively devotees, but we were part of it. And we could see, objectively speaking, devotees were having the most fun. There were like 500 devotees there, and they were all dancing and laughing, and then afterwards we had amazing prasadam. So it's not giving up anything, suppressing anything, as Nitai Gaur was saying. It's just a matter of utilizing our tendencies, our desires for purification of the heart, where we ultimately come to the point of loving relationship with the Supreme. And if any of you have ever tasted love, you know there is no higher taste than that. So we're not suppressing anything. We are seeking the highest love by doing these acts of purification. Thank you, Nitai Gaur, for adding that. Anyone else would like to
Thank you.
share a realization?
Radhe Radhe Prabhuji. I'm so grateful to be here.
Is this
This is
is this Ravi?
this is my first class.
Oh, welcome, Ravi. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Having a great time.
Yeah.
One thing caught my mind, heard a long time back when you were explaining the city of Nine Gate,
Mm.
how we can live. Krishna is everyone try to live blissfully in the city of Nine Gates based on their one level of intelligence. Every living entity is going for bliss. There is no way they cannot. Krishna represents bliss, as we say, Raso Vaisa Anando Brahmeti Bhajanat. Every living entity in whatever shape, form is always looking for bliss, depending on one's intelligence. Everyone tries in all three modes of nature. But Krishna is saying you're going to get entangled. It's one step forward and maybe two steps backward. Krishna is giving us the recipe of how you can live by performing action in a renounced state, and not like applying the skills. Whatever you have, you should use it. It's not dry renunciation, and it's just a fine line between like equipoise, equanimity, um, um, where you're not going to get entangled. And for that, you need some devotion in heart as well. So something read and heard long time back. So that brought some memory. I thought I would share here if it made any sense.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing that that realization. I appreciate it, Ravi.
Thanks.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Any realization that any point you want? One item,
Da-
one point.
Dandavats, dear devotees, Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Yay,
Lakshmi
Jen.
Prabhu, for
Jen.
your classes, always in your service and coming to Ratha Yatra. It's always such an honor to have you, and also so fun when you were mentioning that we don't have to take away our senses. My takeaway is we can do this all over the place, every village, every town. We can have activation of every nation thanks to the holy name, and of course, thanks to Jai Prabhupada for gifting us all of this incredible knowledge. You and all of the incredible devotees that have done it through the years so that we can have it now in the present. I'm so grateful and just always happy to be in association and looking forward to continuation of our devotional inspiration together. So my regards and reverences to you and your familia, your family. Looking forward to sharing more soon. And of course I'll send over some balarama your way. That's one of the main herbs that grows here at the farm, and it's a big blessing because balarama gives us strength to continue our bhakti. So there we go. Jai.
Anyway,
Haribol. Dandavats. Thank you
thank you,
always
Jaima
as
Tulsi. Thank you
well.
so much. Thank you for sharing your heartfelt realizations. Everything you say is always from the heart. Thank you. And thank you for organizing the stage, all the kirtans and everything. It was wonderful. Anyone else would like to step up to the mic and share realizations? Okay. If not, I thank you all. Happy New Year to all of you. And I hope this week brings you many blessings, that you're happy, that you are healthy, and that you are holy. So have a happy, healthy, and holy week this week. And hopefully we'll see you next week, next Tuesday, which I believe is the 13th. And same time, same station. We'll be here and discussing the remainder of from 16, verse 16, chapter 5. See how far we get with that. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you for giving me your association this evening. It's a real pleasure.
Hare
Hari, hari,
Krishna to all.
hari.